You know, there's a headline on one of these TV blogs that I read: "Media continues pressing for answers on Benghazi." I don't mean to be facetious here, but maybe Fox has been doing this, continuing it. But I mean, it's a new development, which made it a big development at the lead of our show tonight for that. I mean, Fox has always been wanting to know what we knew about Benghazi and when we knew it, but now I guess the media doggedly wants answers and continuing to press for answers, when, as far as I could tell, that just started, I think, tonight. So I do want to put that in perspective, not to toot our own horn here, or Catherine Herridge's or Jennifer Griffin, or many of our fine State Department and White House and intelligence reporters. But we have been looking at this. It's nice to see them join us now. But in case you just joined us, what's at issue here is now a clear, you know, sort of a timeline and growing concerns and frustrations among security officials, getting exasperated with the White House. They argue either ignoring them, they're tabling their immediate concerns about the safety at the Benghazi compound and how vulnerable our personnel were there. And now growing reports that there might have been rats in that midst, Libyan rats, those who were giving to those who would later attack that compound key information. All of this is unfolding, but days ahead of the election. Who better to address these concerns than America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani? Rudy, good to have you.
Good to be with you.
What do you make of this?
Well, the same thing I made of it the day after. When I heard about this, first impression was terrorist attack. Within one day, I started to have people telling me this is a big cover-up, big disaster. Administration's been sitting on this for months, meaning sitting on the powder keg that was Libya, because they wanted to make it look like an Obama success. This, I think, has been a situation in which a disaster took place, losing the lives of 4 Americans. Didn't have to happen if we had an administration that didn't put the election of Barack Obama ahead of national security.
You mentioned something interesting that I completely forgot, Mayor, that, you know, they blew a hole through a wall in our compound. Yeah. And I forgot about that, because that would have been a telltale.
Come on. I mean, you got to be out of your mind not to have
when did that happen?
That happened in June.
Okay, so we knew in the summer.
12-foot hole. Like, people want to know, was there a smoking gun? No, there was a smoking cannon. I mean, they blew a hole in the wall of the consulate.
Would that come up in a briefing?
If it didn't, then we have a president that's so incompetent, he should resign.
So that would tell you this is an area of the world we have to watch.
Of course. I mean, it's totally impossible that President Obama wasn't briefed that they blew a hole in the wall of that consulate. Now, why does that consulate not get more security? Why do they keep turning down requests for security? Why do they arguably reduce security?
Well, didn't they argue because Republicans denied funding for that security?
That's total nonsense. Yeah. Actually, they didn't. In fact, there was plenty of funding, and even the woman testified it was not a question of funding. Here was the reason. They didn't want to make Libya look like a failure. They didn't want to make Libya look like a terrible mistake on the part of Barack Obama.
We had toppled the dictator.
We
didn't want to make it look that we had left a disaster.
And we thought a moderate government was elected, unlike Egypt, where we had a problem with a Muslim Brotherhood government elected. A moderate government theoretically was elected. Benghazi's been a disaster zone for a year, and this administration, I think on purpose, wasn't paying attention to that. Look, the British pulled out. The Red Cross pulled out. Our consulate is attacked twice, and now we have these letters that the consulate is begging for help from the Libyan government, and then becomes suspicious that a Libyan policeman is casing the joint, which is the way we would put it in New York if we were doing the investigation. This would be like, I was mayor of New York, somebody blew a hole in City Hall, and I decided that no need for extra protection at City Hall, and then it gets blown up 4 months later. What do you think the people in New York would do to me? They'd throw me out. They'd impeach me. They'd throw me out. They'd say I was incompetent. I mean, you blow a hole in this consulate, and then that consulate doesn't get extra protection. Something is wrong. The president has not been required to answer this.
Well, what do you mean the ignorant excuse? You remember that Joe Biden kind of raised that in the debate with Paul Ryan? Well, I wasn't aware. All right, so maybe he wasn't. And then Hillary Clinton tried to defend it, saying, well, we weren't conveying this to the White House. Is ignorance an excuse here? Or is it even a more damning indictment?
Ignorance should actually be grounds for resignation. I mean, if you can have a hole drilled in the wall of a consulate in a very sensitive part of the world, and the President of the United States and the Vice President don't find out about it, then their whole national security apparatus is a disaster.
All right, stick around. We're going to have more Rudy Giuliani after this. Again, these are fast breaking developments, but you do get an idea. And the reason why we're paying attention to the way we are here is that it's almost as if a lot of the security rats are jumping ship here. That in other words, they're expressing their exasperation with what they say was not a failure on their part. They did all they had to do and wanted to do to warn higher-ups about impending problems in Benghazi, ongoing security concerns in Libya itself. And now they're coming out to say, look, these 4 folks who died, don't look to us. We did our best to warn. Now, it's going to be a back and forth here. But what makes the back and forth different tonight, folks, is that it's not Fox reporting it now. It's not just us, this crazy little island of intrepid reporters. Now the mainstream media is caught on. This doesn't look good. More after this.